everybody, I'm Eric the Counselor.
And I'm Dez Perry.
This is a lifestyle show
About improving your mental health.
You ready?
Let's experience mental health. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Experience Mental Health. I am your host, Dez Perry.
What's up, everybody? I am Eric the Counselor checking in with y'all. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's happening? What's going on, man? Tell me what's going on with you, Eric. How's things going on your end?
Been a good week so far. You know, things are going great.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about the house.
Yeah.
You know, that appraisal. You know, I just told you about this. We look good.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You said, I think you actually said something like, would it come in at 400? I was like, nah, not quite. But it did.
Ooh.
Came in at 400. Good. Heard from the lender today. They're going. I mean, I don't no money at the closing.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a check for me.
Hey, talk your stuff, man. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, man, that's inspiring for me. Cause you know, again, going back and hearing all the things that you went through just to get this house done. It's like every time I talk to you, you was like, they supposed to be putting my cabinets in. They ain't put them in yet. And you know, and it was just like one thing after another, but y'all finally got to that final product. And it looks like it's paying off. It's paying off well for you guys. You and Tiffany and the kids over there, man. That's beautiful, man. So look, inspiration
is literally paying off. And it's I'm glad that this inspiration to you, because along the way, I remember I took one of my mentees over there in the construction phase. And, you know, he's a young man. He's 25 now. But he was inspired as well. And then also having my children a part of their process, they saw the whole thing. And it is inspiring. And when I look at it and I just think about that, you know, it took effort, it took energy, but anybody can do it. You just there's some things you need to do financially. And once we get Corey Bill for the money talk, that's why it's important, because you got to do certain things to put yourself in position to have a harvest. Like there were things that I did way before now. We just see the end result now. But there were things that I had to do many years ago. You know what I'm saying? Starting with having the right mentality, you know, to get to this point today. And so anybody can do it, man.
So when you say having the right mentality, what type of mentality you got to have to put yourself in that position?
And you have to have a financial, literacy. You have to have the mindset of, I don't want to be poor, right? You have to. You got to think about that. You have to think about putting yourself in a good financial position, understanding a budget. Number one, it's just a mindset. Like, I don't want to be poor. And this was when I was like younger than, about your age. That's when I really started getting serious about my finances, because I was like, I want to get married. I want to have a family, but I didn't want to have like a struggle. I didn't want my family to struggle.
Right.
And so the mindset had to change then. And so I did the Financial Peace University thing, learned about budgeting, learned about getting your credit in order and paying off debts and all those things that you need to do to put yourself into position to live out the dream. I wanted to buy land, build a house. I wanted to do it. And believe it, I mean, I'll tell a little quick part of the story. Like I started off wanting to buy land and build a house. Got denied. Like couldn't find, no one would give me the money to buy the land. And so went back to the drawing board, got more debt cleared off of my credit, increased my income, and then started looking again. You know, wasn't finding land. Started looking for a house. Maybe I'll just buy a house. We couldn't find a house we liked. Then we were like, maybe we'll flip a house. We'll find an old house and flip it. Couldn't find the house and flip it. So we went back to the original vision, which was to buy land and build a house. And there we are, man.
Worked it out, man. That's dope, man. Dope stuff, man. I know, like I said, that's one of the things me and Jack talk about all the time, as far as like what we're going to do, you know, moving forward, you know, as a couple, you know, our first home. Well, I mean, we own the condo that we're in now, but, you know, of course, the ultimate dream is that home, that house. You know what I'm saying? Some kids. I know I talk about I ain't having no kids at all, but I know it's probably going to happen one of these days, but you know, I'd rather have a place that we can go and just fill it up. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how we're looking at things and stuff like that. So,
So, man, I'm glad to be here for another episode. We are getting towards that time of the year where we take a break. I know Dez was like, listen, man, it's time to end the season. We're like 20, almost 30 shows into this season.
Just about. Mm-hmm.
Like, what show was it, Dez? This is the 26th show?
Yep. Yeah, I would say about 24th, 25th, something like that.
Yeah, we're deep into this season. We had no intention of it going this long.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are, man, and we're getting towards the end of the year. It's been, 2020 has been
crazy.
Man, a crazy year. And just even recently, we kind of want to talk about what's happening in our city, in Nashville. We've had some loss here recently, and the loss has vibrated throughout the community. And I didn't know these people who passed. I know you know about these people.
Yeah.
Talk about them, and then we could talk about how the society, how we can heal from this. I want to talk a little bit about the cycle.
Right. Yeah. So some of them people that recently passed. One major one that recently just happened just a few days ago. Great guy Rasheed Walker that just passed. Man, actually was just killed. Senselessly. And it's crazy. If you knew him personally, I didn't personally know him. I definitely met him once or twice, quick little handshake. What's up, bro? I didn't have the opportunity to get some of that free game that he used to give to so many people about motivating and hustling and putting in grinding and achieving big goals, because that's something that I'm seeing many people post about on their social media as they talk about him. I didn't get an opportunity to receive some of that stuff, but I did follow him and see some of the things he was doing, working with Metro schools, the pro-am basketball tournaments and things like that. So it's just sad to see, somebody who, poured so much of himself into the community and back into other people being taken, and it's sad. It's sad to see that people are still, killing each other senselessly like that in the midst of a pandemic. We already have a pandemic and COVID and things like that, killing families and loved ones. And now, there's people out here still killing each other, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So that was definitely one. Another one that was kind of sudden too. Another person that I knew, but again, not a very close friend of mine. Paul Cooley, Big Paul. He was somebody that ran in the same circle as I did. Someone that graduated from Tennessee State University that suddenly passed from COVID, if I'm not mistaken. And it, like I said, this pandemic is still taking so many lives out here, and it's so sudden. And man, it's one thing that I hear about. Well, one thing I think about when I hear that these people has passed is just that could have been me. That could be me. And, I feel like in times like that, you ultimately just are appreciative of the life that you have, the opportunities to be able to wake up and be thankful for another day of life, to breathe again, to be around your loved ones. And, it's always that quick reminder of, don't take life for granted and be appreciative of everything that you have. And man, it's again, so sad to see those brothers go so quickly,
Like I said, I didn't know either one of those guys. And I didn't know a lot about, what was his name? Big G?
Paul, Big Paul. Mm-hmm.
I don't know either of these guys. But I've been able to learn a lot about Rasheed Walker. You just hate to hear that somebody like him was struck down in the street.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was a teacher. Also, he was many things, the CEO of his company, the NBA. What's it called? The Pro-Am basketball.
The Pro-Am basketball. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it? He had a company called Hustle Harder or something like that. Hustle Hard.
Hustle Strong.
Hustle Strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a memo from his company floating around on the internet. I saw that, and they were talking about how their CEO had died. I just hate that, man, for a young guy, 31 years old, I believe. And the city, I could tell the city was really hurt behind this. And that's why I think it's important for us to talk about this and really to talk about grief, Des, because people are going through this process of grieving, but we may not always understand how to properly grieve.
Right.
I know there's people who are just going to deal with this internally and just try to carry on with their lives. And that's really to be expected. And most people will probably be able to carry on and continue to live normally, which is what we hope for. But I do want to just talk about the cycle of grief for a minute or two, Dez. Is that cool?
No, yeah, let's get into it.
A little bit about it, because I think people will be able to hear this. Like, I want people in the city and wherever they are to really listen to this and get this information. So we're talking about grief, and the first step in the cycle of grief which is where I think most people are. And I'm only talking about as it relates to Rasheed Walker.
Yeah.
Or I'll talk about those who've lost family members. Like Big Paul and the numerous other people who have lost somebody. The first stage of this is the shock and the denial.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm relating this to the trauma that I've been through. The things that I've had to deal with. So I'm not just talking about this because it's in a book, or you can look this up online. Yeah. I'm not giving you that, but I'm coming from a real place of I've been through all of these stages, and most of us have. But that first stage is shock and denial. You just can't believe that this is happening. You feel like you're in a dream. Like I was seeing posts where people were like, "I'm so confused. Like this can't be real." Like that's that first stage, and maybe you've had that that experience in dealing with something that you may have grieved in your past.
Yeah, because I think about that when you hear about definitely some of these well-known celebrities that have passed. Kobe Bryant, Chadwick. It like when you hear about stuff like that, that's like your first thought. Like what? That's not real. Like I think somebody walked up to me and told me Kobe Bryant just passed. Stop lying. Stop lying. What are you talking about? What I'm saying? Same thing with Chadwick. I think I was laying in bed and I saw it on my phone, and I saw one person post about it. I'm like, this can't be true. So, you got to check your sources and go on a reliable source like, the news, CNN, somewhere, somebody, confirm this, because you just can't believe it.
That's right, man. And that's real. Like, we've all experienced this, and like you gave great examples, and it doesn't have to be people that Also, that's grieve the loss of somebody or something without even knowing that person for real. So that's like the first phase of the grief process, right? And then we move to this anger phase, and that anger can come out in different ways. I like to give one example I can give. I'm thinking of a client that I've helped where they had a situation where they had a family member who was shot, unfortunately, at a place. The ambulance came, they took them from the place that they were shot and took them to a hospital where they later died at the hospital. This family member, my client, was complaining and mad about the fact that their loved one died in the hospital, and they felt like the nurses and the doctors didn't do enough to save the person's life. And so the anger was shifted towards the hospital, the whole hospital, even though their cousin had been shot by another person, but the anger was directed towards the hospital. I heard stories where family members would be mad at each other, because the family member passed. For me, when my sister passed, I had anger towards the company, you know what I'm saying? Were the tires that my sister bought. Okay, yeah. You will have this anger when someone dies or you're grieving something. I think we just naturally want to find someone to blame. Right. You want to find a person or something to put that energy towards, and that's that phase. That's that anger phase. And so I don't know if you've had any experience with that. It's that frustration. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
It's just that anger.
And I just think that it's crazy because and so ultimately what you're saying is it's just like one of those natural feelings that you may just automatically, some people may experience, because I ultimately want to know why exactly, what makes you get into that phase of anger? Like what makes you get to a point where now I'm mad,
Yeah. And that's a good question. I think that could be answered differently from individual people.
Right. It's true.
I think it's one of those things because anger is usually triggered by something, and different people have different triggers, right? And anger is usually a symptom of something else that's going on.
Yeah.
So that's generally what happens. Like what's related to Rasheed Walker. The city is angry. I've seen people like, man, we got to stop doing this to each other.
Yeah.
Like I see people angry with the streets. You know what I'm saying? The streets per se. And I can understand that. And that's a part of the grieving process. And so we move from the shock and denial phase one. The second stage is that anger phase, and the third phase is that depression phase. Depressed, you know what that's like. You cry, you isolate yourself, you're feeling in a funk. You know, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, you're just in a funk. Not taking care of yourself. You might feel detached from reality, detached from other people. That's that depression phase that I think a lot of people are headed into right now if they haven't already but moved to this phase in the group.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's easily understood, right?
Right. Because okay, so now I want to know, like, how do you begin to move out of that phase? Because it's like I feel like it's so easy to, slip into these phases of, disbelief, anger, depression. It's so easy to like naturally flow into those feelings, but how do you begin to move out of those phases?
Yeah, and that's the you can do that. You can, obviously that's the key to therapy or the key to the process. And there's things you can do. But as let me explain the cycle, and then I can kind of talk about
all right. Yeah.
And so you got that depression phase, then you move to the it's called the bargaining phase. And what that means is like you are like trying to make bargains to change the situation. Very personal.
Bargains like how?
Like this, like when my sister passed 16 years ago in an accident, my bargain was, I wish it could have been me. How come it couldn't have been me instead of her, right? And so that bargain looks different for different people. You know what I'm saying? But that's the easiest way for me to try to break it down to where anybody listening to this can understand that bargaining phase. You are trying to change the situation, even though it's final. When someone passes away or there's a grief going on, it's because we've lost something. And in most terms, it's final. It's over. And what we're trying to do is bargain to change the situation, even though it's not going to change anything.
Right.
Yep.
It's crazy how it happens like that. How you even, because I think that's, you just want the outcome of whatever happened to change so bad that, again, you can say, I wish it was me. I wish it wasn't them. Or if only I didn't, if I should have been there, or, it could be anything. And, oh man, yeah. And I think that's ultimately what gets you into that depressed mode too. Cause I think you start to blame yourself for some of the things that whatever it is that's happening.
And guess what, Des? So that phase where we're talking about the anger phase. Some people, that's the anger. They're angry at themselves. Like I should have been there, or I could have did something. I remember I had a cousin who was murdered the same day my son was born, and one of his brothers. The part of their anger was that they weren't there to do something. They're angry at the people who were there that didn't do anything either. And so but it's common. The reason I'm saying that is because it's common for people to be angry at themselves when someone passes away.
Yeah.
And so you're in this process. You're in the shock and denial that's first. Then you have this anger phase, and then you have this depression phase, and then you move into this bargaining phase, and then eventually you're going to get to a phase that's called the acceptance phase. And what that basically means is you've come to terms with what has happened. You are emotionally aware and have come to terms with this is over, this has come and gone, or someone has passed, or this is over. You come to terms with it emotionally, and you realize now it's time to continue on. And that's where you begin to live a meaningful life. And the thing about these stages, Des, and anybody listening, is to know that you don't necessarily have to go through these stages in that order that was described.
Yeah.
You may go to the shock and denial, and then you might start bargaining, and then you might get angry, and then you might jump to acceptance, and then you might regress back to shock and denial. You know,
dang. Because that was one thing that I was even going to ask you was, you know, when you get to that acceptance phase, I know for different people that phase may come a lot quicker or may take a little bit longer. Like, what's a general normal time frame of the acceptance phase to start taking effect?
Well, I don't want to put put a time frame on it, because it's different for different people. All people deal with grief differently.
Right.
What I will say is, if you found yourself unable to move to the acceptance phase within maybe 12 months, then you are sliding into what's called complicated bereavement. Like you are, or more complicated. It's complicated because it's lasting you a year or longer.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that there's a particular time frame, because I mean, there's been some deaths in my life where it happened, and I was, of course, in the shock and denial. I had the depression phase, and then a day or two later, or a week later, I'm fine. And then obviously there's different deaths in my life. I mean, I've had mentees who have been killed. And this affects me deeply, like a family member. When my family member was killed in an accident or murdered or whatever I've had, those process, the cycle is different. It lasts a different amount of time, and so there's no specific time. But if you are a person who has experienced loss, it's important to at least know these stages, right? And as you're going through the stages, it's important to kind of assess your experience with each stage. Like, what is it like for you to be in that denial phase? What's your story? What is it like? Where's that anger that you might have? Who are you angry at? Where is it being directed towards?
Yeah.
Are you feeling depressed? Like, you have to be aware of these things. And hopefully, if you go through this cycle with somebody, most people, honestly, most people deal with death relatively easy. It happens, we move on without necessarily needing the help of a counselor.
Yeah.
Most people just generally do. Now, it is good to go through that with the counselor, just go through with a counselor, but most people will be able to do it without it. And so I just wanted to, talk about this. You mentioned this, we should talk about this.
Yeah.
It's a great time for the city.
It is. Because like I said, man, a lot of people are hurting behind this and stuff like that. And, I know, people always need some type of guidance, some type of assistance on how to overcome the grief that they may be dealing. Because like I said, we want to be able to get to that acceptance phase. And I don't think when I say get to that acceptance phase, it's like we're moving on, forget the person who passed, but it's more so becoming an understanding and accepting what has happened and being able to move forward. And like you mentioned, be able to, live a meaningful life after that, Yeah. Because I think go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, man, that's my experience with it. I know Nashville, and I don't want this to only be about our city, but this, especially for our city.
Yeah.
For anybody that might hear this, grief is a natural process. It's natural to go through that grieving process. And earlier you asked me about how do you overcome the depression phase. Well, here's a few things you can do. You want to try to continue to do the things that you would normally do. Get up, do your normal routine. I know right now COVID has thrown everybody's routine off.
Right.
I talked about my routine earlier today, but you got to try to do the things that you would normally do. Talk to people about how you feel. Try to find a counselor. Even if you listen, like, you could take this episode and think about those stages and just talk to somebody about the stages of grief, just to have someone to talk to. But the big thing to me is doing the things you would normally do, continue taking care of yourself, think positive, and try to be aware of this cycle of grief and talk to somebody about each stage you are experiencing. And I think that you will be able to grieve properly and find closure. One thing that I think everyone should do is to try to find some type of closure to the lost. And different things you can do is like, I use this a lot. I let people write what's called a goodbye letter. It's like, hey, you say whatever you want to say to that person.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that too when we had Alicia on the show.
I did say that. In other shows that we've done around this same topic. But that's something that people find very therapeutic. When they bring them back to session and they read them to me, it's very moving for me to hear it, but it's also moving for them. It's really, you can almost see that person finding closure. So if you're a person who knew Rasheed Walker or any person who's passed away and you didn't get a chance to say goodbye to them, I would encourage you to write a letter. Obviously the letter's not for them, but it's for you to express those emotions towards that person. Right. And you can do whatever you wish with the letter. You can keep it for keepsakes. You can put it in a balloon and send it off into the atmosphere, or put it in a glass bottle and put it in the ocean. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But I think that's a good way to find closure. And I mean, like, I know people are hurting right now. Yeah. I know. Then we're moving into the holiday season. So right. Last week we just talked about how this is supposed to be a happy time for people, but it's not always a happy time. And these types of things is what makes
the reason why.
Not so happy for people. So that's what I think we wanted to talk about that. Let the city know that we are here for you guys. We're thinking about y'all. We are y'all. Like, we are the city.
For sure.
We're all going through this together.
Yeah, most definitely. So, I definitely appreciate you, dropping those gems on, how to, better experience mental health and overcome some of those depressions and, some of that grief that we may be going through, dealing with, the loss of loved ones. So,
man, well, I think that's it's a good show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's help people all the time. And I'm just hoping that it's going to help somebody listening.
Man, yeah. I mean, well, I know for one, if I'll be the first to tell you that you helped me tonight. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can always start for me. But of course, if I'm being helped, I know somebody else out there who's listening is receiving that same type of help. So for sure, man. For sure.
Well, listen, that looks like a good place for us to end today's show.
For sure.
Again, I say this every week. If you are watching these shows all the way till the end like this,
big shout out to you.
Subscribe. You might as well subscribe. And if you may already be subscribed. And if you are, we love you for that. Because
for sure.
Like, big shout out to our friends over at Great Convo Media.
Oh yeah.
Very excited about being a part of that podcast platform where you can not only hear our show, but you can hear other great shows. Last week we mentioned a few.
Where the chatter matters.
I want to shout out my man Josh on Monday.
Oh yeah,
brand new show.
Josh saying he got a whole little sound check.
Got the jingle going, like he had me. I sing that. So that's a great show. You're All I Need podcast.
Yeah.
Is up and going. What's the Mathematics, which is hosted by Jeff Magruder. He's a mentor. Got all the talk about money. There's so many great shows. I think you guys.
Right. I think Aaron McGee just got added onto the squad too with Fatherhood is Dope. So of course my man Marcus Whitney's on there with the Creative Power Hour. You know what I'm saying? So, man, so many good stuff. So if you have not already, make sure y'all go over to greaterconvomedia.com. Check out great convo on the platform that we got going on over there, man. They got plenty of dope pop.
Great Convo.
Ain't no media on there.
I don't think so. Greatconvo.com.
Greatconvo.com. No media. No media. Greatconvo.com. Yeah.
So listen up, folks. All of our listeners, we really appreciate you guys rocking with us all this time. As we said at the beginning, we're getting ready to narrow this season down. Des and I and our other teammates, we've been working on rebranding our whole company. So we got a whole new look and feel coming.
Stay tuned. Look, don't give them too much, Eric. I feel like you was finna give them too much.
I ain't gonna do
let them stay tuned and check out, you know what I'm saying? Make them stick around and, see what the things that we got coming up, man, because it's going to be worth the wait. It's going to be worth the while. So, hey, I'm excited about going into 2021 for sure.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in today. As always, make it a great day, folks.
Peace.
Hey guys, if you really enjoyed that episode, make sure that you like and comment, as well as subscribe to the Experience Mental Health Podcast, because this is the #1 mental health podcast in the nation.